Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Another New York show for me out in the Big Apple. Big UFC tonight, Saturday night. But I am taking the very first all-nighter tonight to take the very first flight into LAX tomorrow. So my ass is on that couch for Raiders versus Colts afternoon game Sunday. Raiders
game of the week.
Point favorites over the Indianapolis Colts, Soto.
Yeah, it's man, it's going to be a slap fest, I think.
It's a dumpster fire in Indy. Like we think it's a dumpster fire in Las Vegas. It is a nuclear dumpster fire. It is a garbage pile fire in Indianapolis.
Yeah,
the Colts make the Raiders look like a well-run organization.
Look, I'm not saying that we're trying to lose per se. I don't think we're necessarily trying our best to win, but
I hate that.
You're going against a guy who's never been a head coach in higher than high school.
Yep.
You got a guy that never called plays before. You have two ex head coaches in the NFL on your staff who got passed over for a guy with zero experience.
Mm-hmm.
You have your don't have a quarterback. Your running back is iffy in and out of the lineup. Your offensive line with the Colts is severely underperforming. I wonder what that's like. One of your best defensive players isn't playing. So I don't know, man. It's like as much as we seem to be trying not to win, I just think it's going to happen anyway.
So I absolutely hate this kind of like weird, iffy, are they tanking, aren't they tanking kind of middle ground. Like it's one or the other.
That's what I said last week. Pick a side.
You're balls to the wall, trying to win every single game, scratching and clawing no matter what it takes, or you're full tanking. You're like, all right, let's get a great draft pick. Like it's one or the other. This whole like, well, it's and the question is, should the Raiders be tanking? I say absolutely not, because I don't think Marc Davis is going to fire Josh McDaniels this season. I don't think he'll fire him into next season unless, start at like 1-6 or something next season. And so if that's the case, then I want all these players to be learning the system. I want them to be playing to the best of their ability and practicing, because the desire to win and like that winning is a habit, right? Like you're either up
like
at 5 a.m.
Stunting is a habit too.
Well, you're either up at 5 a.m. every day, prepping, game planning, getting your lifts in, doing everything within your physical ability to play your absolute best every Sunday, or you're not. And once you break that habit, it's hard to get back into it. You know what I mean? Like that's when you see people like, oh man, I was in such great shape, and then the holidays came, and there's just like food everywhere.
I feel personally attacked.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why I do a dry January, because my November, December, I treat my body like a dumpster like behind a frat house. And so to break that habit and then just like snap your fingers and next year, okay, now we're full steam ahead, sucks, and it's hard. And like that's why tanking is such a bitch, because getting back into like the 100% upper echelon, it's not you don't flip a switch and all of a sudden get into win mode. You can flip a switch and get into tank mode real easy, but flipping a switch and getting back into win mode, not easy. So I don't want to ever, even though our win mode isn't winning a lot, I don't want to get out of the habit of at least attempting to win, especially when everyone's learning two complex systems, an offensive and defensive system that you need a lot of reps. You need game time experience. You need to play these systems and practice them and get good at them. So I say absolutely don't tank, even if we keep losing. It's more important to learn these systems than 4 or 5 spots in the draft.
I'm not as harsh a position on that. I think that if players understand the situation, I don't think that it's a light switch, because they're still putting tape on the field. They're still putting, their game on tape. So it's not like they're going out there and you're going half-assed, because that's what they're putting on film, right? And it's like every time you go out there, you audition for 31 teams. Every time you're on the field.
Yeah.
And the way that the film work goes is you can't hide. They're going to find you. If you have deficiencies, if you have tendencies, they're going to find it.
Yeah.
What I said a few weeks ago before we lost to the Saints, actually, yeah, after we lost to the Saints, I said it may be time for us to start looking at younger players to see who we can move forward with. I didn't say that we need to shut everybody down, but at certain places, like, for example, like Darren Waller. Okay, Darren Waller had his injury last year. I don't know if it was as severe as the games missed.
Yeah,
I don't know that. This year, again, on the flip side, you have a team that's most certainly looking to win in the Chargers, and they have a wide receiver, Keenan Allen, who has a hamstring injury, who hasn't played for, I think, a game longer than Darren Waller.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I can understand, okay, hey, you know what? Let's get you absolutely right. So when you do come back, we're going to have the real you, and we can see what we have in you. And let's get that roster spot and give it to somebody else who we might want to take a look at.
I'm with you. I'm with you in, like, all right, let's maybe focus a little bit on our younger guys as opposed to our older guys. I'm with you there. The other point you brought up, you're not wrong, right? Where logically these players know if I look like shit, then that affects my career moving forward, right? Even though
my money, everything.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, I know logically a player knows that. But when you're in a meeting and you know the coach doesn't give a shit, when you're doing reps and you know the guy next to you doesn't give a shit, it makes it harder for you to give 100%. Even though you logically know, I still got to put the best tape out there. When there's a cloud of tank and a cloud of failure, it makes it really hard. Like, look right now, like even before the question of tanking happened, there's really only 2 players on the team that are playing balls out 100%. Max Crosby, Josh Jacobs. Everyone else, you're like, that was a brain fart. What happened there? What's wrong with this guy? Great players, Devontae and Hunter and Waller, and Perryman was a Pro Bowler last year. Like, maybe he outplayed himself, but like, no, like when that's happening, when the entire room is like just compressed, it's hard to shine. Like, it's hard to be a winner on a losing mentality. And so when you start tanking, you're right. These players know I still gotta look good. Logically, they know that. But when there's that aura of failure, it's hard to break through that. And that aura of failure stays. It's like a lingering fart, right? It doesn't just go away because you're done farting and the season's over. Like, that's what I'm scared of getting involved in.
If you're nervous or apprehensive of how it's going to affect us next season, I don't think every year is a brand new year with these guys. It's like you see these teams that are last place teams that make it the playoffs every single year. So it just takes a couple of different, a couple light bulbs to turn on, a couple of different players at key spots. This is where your position coaches come into play. This is where the position coaches during their meetings need to, because I don't think that the coaches don't give a shit. They're still coaching their players because they want to genuinely see what they have in these younger players. So they're still going to coach them up.
Yeah.
And you have a team like the Panthers. Like, they're winning more often now that after they freaking maybe sold Robbie Anderson's gone and what's his fucking
Christian
name?
McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey's gone. It's like they're winning more than when they had them. Are they a better team? No, they're not a better team, but they're still coaching them and they're still trying, even though they don't, necessarily want to win. I don't think.
Yeah,
they're out there and they're still winning games. So I don't know that that anyone in the locker room feels like nobody cares. It's just the focus is a little bit different now. It's like, okay, we want to coach our players that are here to play their best and to learn the system, and we're going to coach this game, but we're not necessarily going to put our best players out there.
So with that being said, I think a loss to the Colts, who don't have a coach, don't have a play caller, don't have a quarterback,
Two disgruntled coaches,
like just a absolute mess, would be a dagger. I mean,
especially at home.
If the Colts, let's say the Colts blow us out, does Marc Davis fire Josh McDaniels?
I don't think so.
Maybe.
So.
Maybe.
Is
there a maybe
so.
there?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
But I feel like that would be just a complete dick punch to the entire team, right? So it's like, so with that being said, we should be able to pass all over this defense, even without Darren Waller, who's on IR, even without Hunter Renfrow, who's on IR. Devontae, Matt Collins should be able to do what they want to this team. And this should be the very first time our defense looks decent. Like they're, like you said, they're Colts offensive line grossly underperforming with how well they played the last couple seasons. DBs terrible, or passing game terrible. You know, they had Matt Ryan, fell apart. Now, according to Jeff Saturday, Sam Ehlinger is
Ehlinger
is going to start, right? Was he a 5th rounder or something like that? Like
6th rounder,
right? Matt Ryan's going to be his backup. This should be the first time our defense gets 3-4 sacks, 2 picks. Like this should be the like spark of, okay, this is the first week where like Brandon Marshall came at Josh McDaniels, another deflating loss on the road. This could be the spark where, okay, let's get right. Like what the Texans and the Broncos did for us, right? It's like, okay, here's a little spark. Here's what we can do well. Let's get together. Let's get excited again. Like that's what this game should be, a catalyst for setting the tone for the second half of the season.
I don't know that that's the best thing for us. I just,
it absolutely is 100%.
I don't know. I think that you're still sold on this incarnation of this roster, and I think it's like
I'm with you in let's start looking at the younger guys more than the old guys because the future is more important than now. I'm with you there, but the feeling good, that should always be there, even when you're tanking. Like, hey guys, if we're tanking, let's all get on board with tanking, right? If we're trying to win a Super Bowl, let's all get on board with a Super Bowl. When people are splintered and not feeling good, nothing's working, right? But if we're like, hey guys, like we're going to start a lot more young dudes and let's crush these guys. That's a great thing. That's a great thing for this team, is getting like feeling like being on the same, like winning gets everybody on the same page.
Where we're at right now, we're not going to make the playoffs. Okay. Excuse me, sir. This is not going to make the playoffs. The worst thing we can do is fuck around and win like 7 games or 8 games. That's the worst thing we can do, because now we don't have a high pick and we're not making the playoffs. And it's like that middle ground where we've been so many times is shit, because you're not good enough to be in like the 20s, in the mid to high 20s, because you're one of the contending teams every year. And you're not shitty enough to get one of the top guys, like the top 10 guys. Those are like the main guys in the draft, the difference makers. You're in that in-between zone where you're just kind of getting a guy that's like, okay, I mean, he's good, but he's not that good. And do I just get what's there? And
so you're saying the Raiders should full on tank?
I think they should full on tank.
Okay.
I think they should full on tank.
I don't, for all the reasons I brought up of getting that stank out, but I see where you're coming from. Like
look, I don't feel, well, it was told to me this way, and about the same analogy that you said about, I let myself go and this and that. Letting yourself go doesn't happen like overnight. You don't wake up one day and you're like, oh shit, I'm fucking 40 pounds heavier than I was before. It's like it was the way it was described to me. It's like you put a box in the sand, right? And then like every wave that comes by, it moves that box a little bit. It moves it a little bit, and then before you know it, you don't notice it moving, but before you know it, you're like, oh shit, the box is way over there. And that's our roster. Every decision we've made, every draft pick that failed, every high-priced free agent that we didn't get, not just this year, but over the years, made our roster a little bit more difficult to fix. And now we're in this point now where we have high-end players and a lot of really shitty ones and not much in the middle. So, and when I say shitty, I don't just mean, ability-wise, but fit. So we're in that mode now where it's like, this roster is not good as far as ability and fit. So it's both, it's a double whammy. And it didn't happen overnight. It happened over time. All those draft picks, and it's like comes a time where you're just like, dude, we're not going to be able to put a Band-Aid on this fucking arm that got chopped off anymore. We're not going to be able to put another Band-Aid on this thing. Every year the cut gets wider and wider. A Band-Aid is not going to work. Maybe 2 years ago that would have been fine. Maybe last year that would have been one of the last edge years that it could have been fine. But every single season, those young guys that you don't get because you draft like shit, that should be progressing a little, that 1 year more, like you said. Well, you know, a lot of these draft picks, a lot of these young guys that we have probably weren't that good to begin with, and maybe they've topped out already. So
we'd be the most talented tanking roster in NFL history.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
As far as name power, maybe. But you know what? As far as a full 53, I highly doubt it. Because I know we have a lot of players on our team that have names, but they're not very good players.
They've got not just names, but they've got those names for a reason, right? Like Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow.
Don't name the top 5 offensive players that you're playing. Those we already know about those guys.
That's what I'm saying. Like
that's okay. That's less than
talent.
Half of your offense. The other half of your offense is doo-doo. Your whole offensive line is shit, including Miller. They're all ass. Yes.
Is he shit?
Yes. Watch the tape.
He's been above average for years.
He's not above average anymore. Maybe it's just wearing on him, having to freaking hold the whole damn line together. But he's not above average this year. He's not good.
So what happened?
Years, the abuse. Not every single player can get better every single year. That's why I kind of like, when he's like, oh, this should be a year better. I'm like, you don't know that. You know, are they dealing with some injuries? Are they dealing with outside stuff? You know, everyone wants to make this big fucking deal about Tom Brady getting divorced. Who gives a shit, right? Oh, well, he's got it hanging on. Now that it's out there, he's playing better. Like, well, we don't know what's going on with these guys' lives. We don't know if this is like they're not able to deal with that injury anymore. Like, fuck, man, this whole thing is like messing up with me or whatever. But he's just not good. He's not a good football player. He's probably rating-wise,
I can't give up on him who's played so well for multiple seasons and then he's played shit for 7 games, right? Like there's a much, much longer history of him being good than him being bad.
Same with Chandler Jones. Are you going to give up on Chandler Jones? I'm pretty much giving up on him.
We have no choice. He's got too much guaranteed money.
But that's what I'm saying. Same thing with Miller. So Miller's got a lot of guaranteed money too.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm saying is especially the big guys, those are cliffs. When they drop off one. Like look at Ndamukong Suh still out there.
But
like, sign his ass.
Everyone on this roster is playing worse now than they have in the past. Everybody, every single player. And so that's why I'm like, do we give up on every guy who's played worse? Like, is all 53 guys truly terrible this year and not good like they were last year? Like, now there's obvious ones, right? Half the offensive line, it's like, okay, you were never good, right? We're hoping for you to overplay yourself, right? Most of the DBs, never, interior defensive line, right? So like, those are guys who were like, okay, we rolled the dice that you guys would overperform and you did, right? But there's a lot of guys that have a lot of really, really good tape over the course of their careers. And in the last 7 games, they have it. 8 games. We're 2-6, right?
Yeah, 8 games.
8 games, right? So like that's what I'm saying. Is like, all right, are we giving up on these guys because of 8 games after they played 50 above average ones? Like Colton Miller is the best example. Like he's been I think a lot of Raider fans overrate him, but he's been an above average.
Almost every Raider fan overrates him. He's not great.
He's been an above average left tackle for the Raiders the last few. After his rookie year, where he was playing hurt and being a rookie, he's been an above average left tackle. We can count on him. He's our starter. Boop. One of the one spot on the line we don't have to worry about, right? In the last 8 games, he's been below average. It's like, is he really over the cliff and you can never count on him again? I'm not willing to give up on him like that after 8 games.
I'm not either.
So,
but you have to admit, on a good offensive line, on a top maybe 6-7 offensive line, he's not a left tackle. He's a right tackle. He's a left tackle for us, but not on a good offensive line. On a top third of the league, maybe a little bit less, maybe 8, 9-ish, 7. He's not a left tackle.
He might be. I mean,
he's not.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Watch the tape.
He's not average. If you're an above average left tackle, you can start on a good line.
You can't have a good offensive line.
And he'd only play better with good guys next to him. You know what I mean? Like you know that to be true, right? If the guard next to you is a Pro Bowler, you're like, all right, I don't have to carry some of his weight. We're not going to scheme things where I have multiple responsibilities because I'm the best line I'm the best tackle on a bad line. Now it's like, all right, Colton, the guard takes care of his thing. You just worry about the end, right? So like he'd probably play better on an O line. So, but he could be completely falling off the hill. You're right. Big guys.
I mean, look, I'm not saying he is or isn't.
Shot. But I'm just saying I haven't seen enough to say like, okay, got to moving on from Colton. He's done. Like definitely haven't seen enough.
We've seen last year. We've seen glimpses of it. It's just a lot more prevalent this year.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe because he's playing next to a rookie, or I don't know what it is. But it's to the point now where if we draft like a tackle, let's say we draft a tackle in the first round, it's like one of the guys that we hit on him, one of the guys that everyone wants, that he's going to be a left tackle for one more year, and then he'll be a right tackle, and that rookie in the second year will be a left tackle. That's where we're at with Colton Miller. But what I'm trying to say is, I think that it's almost like it's like the Colton Millers and like the Denzel Perrymans and I hate saying it, but it's true. It's like the Derek Carrs, right? These fans that are enamored with these specific players remember all the highs, but they don't remember the lows. They don't remember that because they're this, they're that. Denzel Perryman was a Pro Bowler last year. Yeah, he was, but he can't cover. And in not just in the modern NFL, but in this specific system, if your linebacking core is an extension of your secondary. And if you can't cover as a linebacker, we get the Alvin Kamaras and we get, the Travis Etiennes, and we get all those guys killing us on short passes because you can't cover them.
Yeah.
We get buried by tight ends every single week because our linebackers can't cover.
Well, and because our defense is so bad at all three levels, everyone is more exposed than otherwise. Like if Chandler Jones was playing peak, Max Crosby was playing peak, our defensive tackles were playing above themselves, and we had the pass rush we thought we did, then the warts of our linebackers and DBs would be easier, so bad, right? It wouldn't be as bad because there'd be good pressure, right? If our DBs were outplaying each other, right? Like Nate Hobbs is healthy, playing amazing. Merrick is 1 year better after a great rookie year. Rocky Yassine's playing actually pretty good. We should include him on guys that are still playing well. But like
if our
DBs are playing well, then our pass rush wouldn't look so shitty either, right? But because all three levels of our defense is bad, the worst parts of each player keep being exposed because they're not getting help.
It's true. And I do feel if we had Hobbs and Yassine on the field at the same time, our pass defense would be much better. Because Averett wouldn't have to cover, an outside guy, one of the top guys on the team.
Yep.
Amik would be able to just stay inside, even though he's played okay outside, but he'd be able to stay inside. You wouldn't have to use a 3 safety set as much as we did when we maybe didn't want to have Abram out there in coverage. We would have had an extra DB and not have to play that 3 safety set with Harmon and Merrick. It's almost like a blessing in disguise where it's like, okay, let's see where these guys really are. And then, and now we're able to see, okay, it's not smoke and mirrors. It's not like, so it's almost like the whole Rocky thing, right? It's like where Mick was protecting the title, right? He was picking and choosing the fighters.
There was setups. No, there weren't setups. There was good fighters with killers like him, Rock.
Exactly.
We're avoiding Mr. T.
With Gus Bradley, it's like, okay, yeah. He was protecting these guys from themselves, and he made a very good game plan that still ended up being a bad defense. Only one slot better than we are this year. We're 27th this year. Last year we were 26th, so it's not like, oh my God, the world is falling, right? Or they were so much better last year. But you were able to highlight certain things, but overall, it's still a shit. So we're able to see, okay, multiple systems, multiple coaches, multiple years, these players aren't working out. That's why Abram's gone. That's why a lot of these players that are names on our team now are not going to be here next year. And I think that's part of the process of moving forward and building a roster that actually has a high floor. Not the guys that we have like, well, they can be, they could be, because we have a lot of those guys right now. A lot of can be, could be guys. We need guys that are, legit guys on our team that we can build with.
So you want the Raiders to tank?
I think it's time.
What?
I think it's time.
So what does that look like? You're Josh McDaniels. You're game planning tomorrow. You're game planning Sunday against the Colts. This is day 1, day 0 of Las Vegas Raiders Tank Fest 2022. What does tanking look like?
Throwing out feelers for a lot of your players. Now it's going to be a little bit more difficult now because of the trade deadline. You have to pass through waivers to be moved, but throw out feelers for the end of the season. Protect those players, maybe not play them as often because you don't want to get them hurt. You want to keep their value up. So put them into positions to succeed when they're in, have them put good tape when they're in, don't necessarily play them a lot. Going to look at a lot of your young players and continue to coach and implement your system.
I think even with young guys playing, I think a tanking, because this is the thing is like, if you're still trying to coach these guys to play their best, right? Which is what you want them to do, right? It's not tanking. It's like make everyone play shitty, right? You still want individual performers to play their absolute best. I don't know, because like with the trade, like you said, with the trade deadline already passed, a tanking team looks so different. Like if we were truly tanking, we try to trade Waller for whatever we can get, maybe trade Carr for whatever we can get, Perryman for whatever we can get. That's not part of it, right? Like that's not there anymore.
Not anymore.
It's like it feels like a half tank, kind of. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's the post deadline tank, and what that means is just don't play Josh Jacobs a ton. Give
what Zamir's got.
Yeah, see what Zeus White has. Wide receiver wise, you have to have Devontae out there because you're not going to sell any. You're not going to sell any tickets, any merchandise. You got to have them out in the field. You have to have your big names out in the field. But honestly, like we've been trying to win, and we're 2-6. So it's not like I don't think the tank is going to be too difficult for us.
On the flip side, I think this is a better team. Like you are what your record is, but there's a difference between getting blown on every game and being 2-6 and being one score away every time, right? Mm-hmm. So there's clearly
that's $20
life there. Yeah, didn't put it on. So there's clearly life there. It's just not jiving. You know what I mean? So it's not like let's knock every piece off of the chessboard, right? Mm-hmm. It's let's pick the pieces off the chessboard and fine tune. And again, if Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, and Patrick Graham are the answer, which they clearly haven't proven they are yet, but they need. I've said it multiple. You're higher on them than I am, but I'm still like give them the whole year at least to implement everything before we can make a whole.
I think I'm where you are now because of what I've seen, but I still think that we agree on you need to give them time because I think more so for you, it's because it's what you should do, and for me, it's like I have a little bit less of a opinion of the roster that we have. And have them get maybe some players that maybe fit their scheme a little bit better and see what they can do. These guys are wrestling back there.
Yeah. So my thing is, you're still coaching 100%, maybe just a couple younger guys, and even with that,
we should
beat the Colts by 2 touchdowns.
At least, yeah. They're not good. Look, the only hope that they have is that Jonathan Taylor shreds us like he did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the only hope that they have is that he comes back from that ankle injury and he's the same old guy and he's able to run the ball 35, 34, 33 times. And he shreds us for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's the only shot that they have is on Jonathan Taylor. But if you're the Colts and you're not going anywhere, do you want to use up your star player like that every game?
I think Jeff Saturday absolutely wants to win his first game. I think they're 100%. How do we win this game on Sunday? There's no question in my mind. They're not like maybe they want to tank long term. I think Jeff Saturday's like you saw his pressers. He's fucking jacked to be ahead. Of course he would be. He was in the green room in Bristol like a week ago, just trying to break down like Kirk Cousins passing mechanics, and now he's the interim head coach of an NFL franchise.
Yeah, he's tweeting out how bad we suck.
Right? Like he's fucking jacked. Like he wants to win. All right, we'll see what the Raiders do on Sunday. We'll see we'll see that snap count Monday, and I think that'll tell us a lot of what the Raiders are thinking, tanking or not, when we see that snap count. Because I'm not going to keep track of it on Sunday, but on Monday, we'll see the snap count. We'll find out.
So I have a question for you before we finish up. Give me your one key offensively and your one key defensively for us to win this game.
Defensively, so Denzel Perryman is questionable, and we can talk all day long about his coverage, but he's still a good run stopper, right? He's a pretty good tackler, good run stopper, get a lot of tackles. If he plays and is playing close to 100%, then it's simple, right? It's have the best players on your defense key in on Jonathan Taylor, right? No brainer. And that's what we generally do pretty well is, Max Crosby's, he's one of the most well-rounded ends. Like he plays the rush as well as he does the pass rush. So it's key on Jonathan Taylor. Offensively, this should be Matt Collins' another like big Matt Collins day. Mm-hmm. It should. They're going to bracket Devontae Adams a ton. Scheme Mac open like he's been doing. He should be able to. And actually, that's actually a good question. It's like if they go one-on-one because they do have Stephon Gilmore, right? Like Gilmore Adams is an awesome. Gilmore still got it. That's an awesome matchup, right? So if they're saying Gilmore on Devontae, I'm betting Devontae. If they do if they double up, then you go to Mac.
Yeah, I think they both still have it. I think that Devontae is closer to his peak than Gilmore is. I think Gilmore slipped a little bit more than Devontae has if he has it all from his peak. I think defensively, we need to play inside out. We need to do what the Saints did to us: crowd the line, make them show what they're doing, make them show their hand, and then we adjust from there. The only issue is we're not that talented on the secondary, so maybe even a Sam Ehlinger can exploit us at times. But I would rather have Sam Ehlinger beat us than Jonathan Taylor beat us. Offensively, we need to protect our quarterback because they have three guys on that line that are damn good at getting the quarterback. Kwity Paye, Unique Ngakoue, and DeForest Buckner. They can get the quarterback. And those are three guys that are about as good as we've faced a trio on the defensive line. And I have zero confidence in our offensive line to be able to hold up consistently. So I got into a little bit of a back and forth with some guys. Shocking, right? How they were saying that, our quarterback was, 5 for 15 for 40 yards or 35 yards, something like that in the second half, but he had no time to throw. I'm like, did you watch the tape? There was times where he had time to throw. So at that same time,
there's 5 completions.
No, because there was about 5 incompletions. There was like 2 drops and 3 passes that were, I don't know where they were going. But like I said last week, make the shots count. When you do get the time, you got to make it count because it's time to step up here. I understand that you can't put it all on one player, but you being a special player have to be able to make it happen when it's available to you. And that includes Devontae not dropping balls. That includes Foster Moreau getting his goddamn head around on his route faster. That includes Matt Collins running the right routes and being that physical presence. That includes Josh Jacobs keep doing what he's doing. That includes everybody on the offense.
All right, we'll do a post-game show immediately following the game on Sunday, and God only knows what our emotions will be. Tune in to find out. Yeah. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Congratulations for making it all the way to the end of our video. If you want Darren Waller to catch 20 touchdown passes next season and for Max Crosby to have 30 sacks, go ahead and subscribe and click the next video.